Hi, I'm Bryson, and I have a lot of siblings. Naturally, I've already made videos about them and slandered their names. Don't worry, Mom and Dad will get their chance on the slander spotlight soon. In the meantime, I decided to compile all my favorite stories about my siblings. Please enjoy the Sibling Saga.
Hey, Brenner, if you jump off this cliff right now, I'll give you a penny. Oh. Hi, I'm Bryson, and a while ago I made a video about the times I almost died and the times I got hurt really bad. But that got me thinking about the other injuries in my family, and one sibling came to mind, one who had dodged the grasp of death more times than I can count, the sibling who had little to no regard for his own mortality and would regularly hurt himself. The wild child, if you will. The youngest brother, Brenner. This is gonna be a long video, because Brenner gets injured a lot. I don't want to cut out good stories or do a part 2, so let's just sit down, relax, grab some popcorn, and laugh at my brother's pain. Now, almost all of Brenner's injuries were self-inflicted. However, I think it's only right we start the video with Brenner's very first injury, the one he got from me. Brenner had recently been born, and my parents invited me into their room to say hi to my new baby brother. As I said hello to him, he reached out his hand and scratched my chest. Now, obviously, Brenner was just a baby. He had no control of his body and was just moving around. But my 4-year-old brain could not let this slide. How dare you? First, you come into my house, take my spot as the cute youngest child, and take all the attention from my parents? And now this? I offered you my hand in friendship, and you attacked me. You must pay recompense for your actions.
Hey, no, stop, just calm down, don't do it.
My parents tried to stop me, but it was too late. I reached out and scratched him back. He began to cry, and my parents put me in timeout. Little did Brenner know, his pain had just begun. Okay, in all seriousness, I felt really bad for what I did. Even now, I still regularly apologize to Brenner about it. But he can't even remember it, so he doesn't care. Brenner, my conscience has really been getting to me lately, and I'm so sorry about what I did.
Dude, that was 17 years ago. Can you just move on? I forgive you, okay?
Thank you. I love you, Brenner. I'm so glad I could get that off my chest. Remember in my pain video where my brother Brody slammed the door on my fingers? Yeah. Apparently that experience runs in the family. Brody walked through a door as a young Brenner was sticking his fingers in the hinges, and Brody slammed the door again. Brenner's fingers bent every which way.
If I had a nickel for every time I slammed a sibling's fingers in the door, I'd have 2 nickels. That isn't a lot, but it's weird that it happened twice.
Luckily, Brenner's fingers didn't break, and the doctors fixed him up. Feel better soon, buddy, and don't get into any more trouble.
I will make no such promises.
One time, me and Brenner were playing tag, and rather than be tagged by me, he jumped into a busy street and a car barely avoided him. I guess Brenner was more willing to die than lose at tag. Would you rather die a terrible death or—
Definitely death.
Wait, you didn't hear the other option?
Death.
I genuinely don't know why he is so accident-prone, but this next story was no accident. You know how sometimes your mom has a really good friend, so she decides to make you hang out with her friend's children, but you don't like them? Yeah. When I was younger, my mom sent me and Brenner to play with the neighbor kids, Jake and Steven. The main reason I didn't like Jake was because he said, "Your sister is so hot." Brittany was 18. Jake and I were 8. Have you considered shutting up? Anyways, I spent the day tolerating Jake's shenanigans, but eventually I hid from him on the front porch and watched Brenner and Steven play in the front yard. "Come here, Brenner, I want to show you something." Brenner walked up to him, Steven grabbed his hand, reached into his pocket, and pulled out a pair of scissors and started cutting Brenner's fingers.
Stop!
I ran over to them to check on Brenner. His fingers were bleeding and he was crying. I slapped the scissors out of Steven's hand, grabbed him by the arm, and forced him inside to his mom. "Hey, Steven just cut Brenner's fingers with scissors." Oh, Steven. What? That's it? I was shocked. Call my mom right now so she can pick us up. We're leaving. We left and Brenner's fingers healed just fine. But still, that reaction from the mom was not okay. Luckily, I never had to go to that family's house again. Reminds me of another time Brody was really young and another boy was punching him. My mom took the kid to his mom and told her that his son was hitting Brody, and all she did was say, "Soft hands, Hunter." I mean, come on, soft hands? How about punishing your kid for hitting a stranger?
You clearly don't know how to discipline children. Here, I'll show you how it's done.
Ah!
A lot of Brenner's injuries were caused by him wanting to grow up fast and to keep up with his older brothers. For example,
My turn. Bryson doesn't need training wheels on his bike, so neither do I. Let me try.
but one time Brenner tried to set a trend that the other brothers would follow, and the consequences were severe. This next story is the real reason I made this video. I'm honestly still surprised that Brenner survived this. It was bad. In our basement, we had a tall exercise machine that looked like this. Brenner decided that he wanted to climb it and jump off it onto our beanbag for fun. However, this time it went horribly wrong. Brenner pushed the beanbag close to the machine, climbed up, and jumped headfirst with the same regard for his life that a Minecraft player has when seeing one block of water at the bottom of a cliff. Part of the beanbag covered the exercise bench, which extended out, hiding the big metal part underneath. Brenner thought that since there was part of the beanbag there, it would be soft, but his head slammed through the beanbag into the metal part and he split his forehead wide open. Mom and Brittany came running into Brenner crying with blood all over him. They freaked out and dashed him out of the house to take him to the hospital. I only caught a glimpse of him as they ran out, but I could tell it was bad. Brittany and Mom later told me that they could see Brenner's skull through the gash in his head. My dad sent me to a friend's house so they could watch me while my parents took care of Brenner. I remember sitting on their stairs, terrified that I'd never see Brenner again. God, please hear my prayer. If you make Brenner be okay, I promise I'll never be mean to him again. At the hospital, since Brenner was so accident-prone, they kept pointing to cuts on his head that were from previous shenanigans. Is this cut old or new? Is this cut old or new? Is this old or new? Finally, my sister was like,
the gaping gash on his forehead, that is new. Forget the rest of it, fix that.
Somehow the doctors patched him up. I think they even had a plastic surgeon involved in fixing his head. When I next saw Brenner, he was up on his feet with 25 stitches in his head, but he was okay. Phew! I thought you were gonna die, Brenner. I'm so glad you're okay. Anyway.
Brenner still has a massive scar across his forehead, but thanks to the doctors, he was okay.
Brenner, can you please calm down on the injuries? You're gonna die if you're not careful.
It's not hard to die. I could do it like right now. But like, number two...
Another time, a young Brenner was using the bathroom and found a bottle of painkillers on the countertop. They were coated in a sugary glaze to make them go down easier. So Brenner took the pills one by one and sucked on them till they ran out of sugar, then spat them out. He did this over and over and over, and from sucking on the pills, he got sick and passed out.
I'm tired. Ooh.
My mom discovered Brenner unconscious on the bathroom floor surrounded by pills. What? Ah! And once again, the doctors proved why it's good to go to college. Not for me, though, but as for you guys, good for you. I don't know how they saved him, honestly. I don't really know how doctors work. For all I know, they could have removed all of Brenner's blood, which was tainted with drugs, thrown it away, then pumped him up with fresh blood. I don't know. Another time, he swallowed a bunch of coins, and again, my parents rushed him to the hospital where he was x-rayed to show a pile of coins in his stomach. They told my poor parents to dig through his, waist until they got all the coins. He was like a piggy bank, but way more disgusting. He was like a piggy bank, but way more disgusting. Honestly, with how often Brenner visited the hospital, I'm surprised they didn't have a special section of the hospital just for him. This next story is surprisingly the only time that Brenner has ever broken a bone. You would think at this point that he would have no bones left because of how often he gets hurt, but nope, he still has bones. My family has a small motorcycle that we call Big Bertha. It's fun to ride around on, but it has no suspension. It is 2 wheels and a motor, that's it. One day, Brenner was driving it, and despite knowing that Big Bertha had no suspension, he decided to ride it off a curb. The bike bounced, Brenner swerved and lost control, and he went head over handlebars. He landed on his arm and totally snapped his wrist. One hospital trip later, and Brenner had a cast. He wanted his cast to be unique, so he asked me to paint it to look like Thanos' gauntlet. So I got the paint out and painted it as best I could to look like the gauntlet. It looked pretty cool in my opinion. But then later, Brenner's arm got itchy. The doctors told him that his arm would be itchy at first, but that if he ignored it, the itchiness would go away. They also specifically told him to leave the cast alone and to not shove anything into the cast to try and scratch his itch. However, the itch got the better of Brenner, so without consulting anyone, he grabbed Brody's glasses and started shoving the long end into his cast in an attempt to scratch his itch. He pulled the glasses out only to realize that the little rubber covering had slipped off and it was now stuck in the cast. Determined to scratch his itch and recover the rubber cover, Brenner somehow removed all of the soft wrappings underneath the cast, leaving only the hard outer shell. Brenner had scratched his itch and was satisfied. Then Mom walked in and saw what Brenner had done. They went back to the hospital and explained the situation. Can you imagine being a doctor and setting someone up with a nice cast to help them heal, and the next thing you know, they ruined it?
I feel like the maid. I just cleaned up this mess. Can we keep it clean for 10 minutes?
They had to cut off his Thanos cast and make another one for him. Brenner got home and asked me to paint his new cast. No, I spent a lot of time painting that last one and you ruined it. How do I know you won't ruin it again?
Come on, man, just paint it again.
Why should I be penalized because of your sloppiness?
So Brenner went around wearing a lame blue cast rather than a cool Thanos cast. A few months later, the doctors took off the cast and they realized that Brenner's arm had healed crooked. It was literally like a 15-degree angle. My mom pointed this out and the doctor said, "Yeah, well, it's within the range of crookedness that we consider to be acceptable, so we're just gonna leave it like that."
What? That's easy for you to say. You're not the one who has to live with a crooked arm. Fix his arm and do it right this time.
So the doctors explained that in order to fix it, they would have to re-break Brenner's arm, angle it correctly, and recast it.
Do it.
Wait, what?
Hold them down.
Wait, no!
So they did that and Brenner's arm eventually healed correctly, but not without pain. Now you would think that after breaking his arm on Big Bertha that Brenner would never touch that thing again, right? Nope. Let me tell you one last story. One day, me and Brenner got bored and decided to go for a ride. Him on Big Bertha and me on my go-kart. We chased each other around a parking lot, but then I thought, how can I make racing around more interesting? And my mind went to my favorite racing game, Mario Kart. You know, the game where you destroy your enemies by throwing items at them. So I decided to drive by Brenner and throw my flip-flops at him. We went back and forth throwing flip-flops at each other like green shells for some time. Then I zoomed by and got a good flip-flop strike on Brenner, and he wanted to retaliate with something stronger. He grabbed a big tree branch and drove towards me. He swung the branch and I swerved out of the way. But the branch was so heavy that swinging it threw Brenner off balance. He swerved and flew over the handlebars once more.
Again? Freaking again?
Brenner was scraped and bruised, but luckily nothing broke. And he finally learned his lesson and he doesn't drive Big Bertha anymore. But I do. Here we are at the end of the video, and yet, that's not even all of Brenner's injuries. But if I keep talking about them, this video is going to be 30 minutes long, and in that time, he'll probably injure himself again. Let's quickly get through some last stories. Lightning round. We visited a janky aquarium that let you swim with sharks, and a bamboo shark bit Brenner's finger. Brenner went to a trampoline park, attempted a stupid trick, and landed on his head and had to wear a neck brace for a few weeks. Brenner and Brody went kayaking. Brody tried to splash Brenner with the paddle, but it skipped off the water, slammed into Brenner's face, and cracked his front teeth. A car almost backed over him as a child, but he hung onto the bumper while being dragged, and my sister stopped the car to save him. His friend accidentally shot him in the forehead with a BB gun, and his forehead still has a dent. In conclusion, Brenner's guardian angel is built different, because she has saved Brenner more times than I can count. And as much as I make fun of him, I am grateful for that. As he has grown, I think he has gotten a little less accident prone. Let's hope it keeps going in that direction, cause I'm pretty sure he has used up all of his 9 lives. God has sent his soul back to the living world so many times at this point that if Brenner shows up there again, God might just say, "Oh, forget it," and keep him. Well, hey, it could be worse. At least his soul is going to heaven. Hello? Hello? Is this thing on? Hey, my brother has been bullying me a ton lately, but I've been studying his tactics and I know how to get him back. I've set up a bucket above his door so that when he walks through, he'll get soaked.
Oh, here it comes. Shh. What?
You dare use my own spells against me.
Hi, I'm Bryson, and this is my older brother, Brayden. We're best friends now, but our relationship wasn't always like that. Brayden was a total bully, and I was the innocent victim for our whole lives.
That's not.
Shut up. Anyway,
You don't get to tell me to shut up.
Back off, it's my
I
channel.
don't care. I'm boss.
I'm bigger. I have more money. You better lawyer up. Anyway, today I wanted to regale you with some of the fantastical stories of our sibling rivalry and how that blossomed into a beautiful friendship. Let's start at the beginning. Brayden had a huge problem with me minding my own business. I would just be chilling in my room playing with Legos and he would come in and knock them down. It's kind of like a beaver when it sees water. They both think, well, someone's gotta put a stop to this. One time we were wrestling and we had stuffed pillows under our shirts for protection. Brayden saw this and thought, oh, he's got a pillow under his shirt. He's immune to all attacks. So it doesn't matter how hard I hit him. Then he kicked me into a stool. It dug into my unprotected back and knocked the wind out of me. Okay, stop being so dramatic. You're fine. Look, I'm thinking there's no reason we can't keep this little incident between us. Don't tell Mom, or I'll wring your neck. Okay, all good. See you later. Brayden himself has told me that he didn't discover empathy until one day when he threw a pine cone at Brody's back and made him bleed. Oh. Anyway, he didn't apply empathy until several years later, though. Even now, his empathy is selective. Brayden loves pushing buttons. Growing up with him was a masterclass in making other people mad. And bothering me was easy. I just wanted peace, and Brayden knew exactly how to shatter that peace. For example, for several nights in a row, I would be in bed, Brayden would come in and say, "You've had it far too good for far too long," and then beat me up. After, I would say, "Why?" And he would say, "No reason, unprovoked." Anyways, see you same time tomorrow night? One time, we were on a family cruise, and Mom wanted us all to take a picture together. At this point, Brayden's button pushing and bothersome tendencies had infected all of us. It was like a virus. Brayden would bother me, and to blow off steam, I would bother Brenner. What a healthy brother dynamic. Hurt people, what can I say? Am I right? And further, Brayden was an expert at making it seem like it was my fault and playing innocent. So there we were, getting ready to take a picture, and Brody and Brayden decide this would be the perfect time to start grabbing my butt. Obviously, I get angry and start pushing and trying to get them to stop as they laugh at me. Mom hears the ruckus and of course assumes I'm just causing problems for no reason and says, "Bryson, stop!" So I tried to just deal with it and smile for the picture as my brothers laughed at me. Here is a recreation of that picture. I lost on all accounts. I look super ugly because I'm trying not to squirm because my butt is being grabbed. Mom was mad at me, and Brody and Brayden looked great. They were experiencing the pure joy of a devious master plan coming together. They knew I had no options, so their smiles are genuine. Neither of them had ever, nor ever would again, smile that brightly for any family photos. However, me and Brayden did have a team up on that same trip. I was in the shower, and Brenner kept turning off the light to bug me. I kept warning him that I would spit water on him if he kept turning off the light, but that only strengthened his resolve to bother me. He would turn it off and then run away down the hall over and over. Eventually, I asked Brayden to help me administer justice to Brenner, and he agreed. Brayden hid behind the door, Brenner came back and turned off the light, but before he could escape, Brayden grabbed him. "Do it, now!" As I filled up my mouth with water to spray Brenner, I started laughing about how funny it was gonna be when I sprayed him. But the laughter caused me to accidentally inhale the water. It all went in my lungs and I started coughing violently. And something about that made my stomach go, yeah, he's coughing. Let's just do a full reset. Send all stomach contents back from whence they came, please. Beep. And I threw up in the shower as my brothers watched. I should have just thrown up on Brenner. He would have never bothered me again. But alas. Here's another example of Brayden's shenanigans infecting his fellow men. We were in high school at this point, and Brayden had taken a liking to flipping me off. However, eventually it just became an inside joke to us, and I would flip him off back. So we would do this all the time to each other as confused bystanders watched. It basically became our way of greeting each other. But one day, this harmless prank went quite wrong. We were getting food at a restaurant. I paid, and the lady gave me my receipt, and I went to give her a thumbs up. But the
habit was so deeply ingrained in me that I accidentally flipped her off. Luckily, her head was turned, and as she turned back in the nick of time, I switched my hands to a thumbs up. That was the real-life equivalent of using the wrong emote. I told Brayden about it, and we laughed and flipped each other off. Honestly, there aren't a ton of crazy stories of Brayden bullying me. It was more of an evenly spread, slow burn that chipped away at my sanity for years. For example, hitting me unprovoked to keep me on my toes, stealing my stuff and hiding it, kicking me off the Xbox, giving me a disconnected controller to make me think I was playing a video game with him, pushing me too hard on the rope swing so I would hit a tree, splashing me in pools, and throwing the hot potato at me way too hard, etc. That kind of stuff takes a toll when you're small. It was a vicious cycle of him purposefully aggravating me too much and me being too sensitive. And there's no rhyme or reason to his crimes either. It usually plays out like this. Ugh. What a brute. No matter. I know his tactics. He's trying to get a reaction out of me. Well, he's out of luck. I've gained total mastery over my emotions. That being said, I've got to find a way to get him back for this. Later tonight, I'll set a trap for him in his room. When he walks in, I'll be hiding in the closet with a water gun to soak him, and then I'll frame Brenner for it. It will be the perfect crime. Laugh while you can, Brayden, because tonight, your reign comes to an end.
Prank him, John.
All this being said, I gotta throw in at least one good story about Brayden because he truthfully is a great brother and I love him very much. The year was 2017, and I was about to turn 16. The Nintendo Switch was releasing the next day, and I asked my parents if I could wake up early, wait in line at the store, and buy the Switch with their money for my birthday, since it would probably be out of stock everywhere by the time my birthday really did arrive. They said no, and I went to bed disappointed. Then at 5 a.m., Brayden woke me up and told me that Mom and Dad only told me no to make it a surprise, and that we were going to the store to buy it now. It was a great brother experience, and I'll always have fond memories of waiting in line with Brayden and playing Zelda. And here I am 6 years later playing the new Zelda on that same release day Switch.
I'm tired of this, Grandpa!
That's too bad!
That being said, sometimes Brayden does half nice, half mean things.
Hey, leave him alone, punks. That's my job.
Ow! Now, I don't claim to be the innocent victim in all these circumstances. I push Brayden's buttons too. As my mom taught us, it takes two for contention, and I will not be one. But with me and Brayden, I would change it to, it takes two for contention, and we will both be one. On that note, Brayden avidly claims that I once threw a full can of Sprite at his head. I don't remember this at all, but admittedly, it's not fully out of character for me. And one time we were on a tandem kayak together, and I was purposefully rowing out of sync with him so that our paddles would clank together.
Right, left, left. Do it right!
I'm trying. Sometimes I forget my lefts and rights.
Just follow my lead. Left, right. You're doing it wrong on purpose!
What are you gonna do about it? Tip me? We're on the same boat, idiot! But I also do nice things for him, like finding him a wife. Let me explain. One time, a bunch of families and friends in my neighborhood went on a big old camping/hiking trip, and I was eating lunch with our family friend Kira. As we chatted and ate, I said to her, "You should date Brayden."
I don't think Brayden's really my type.
And I thought to myself, sure he isn't, honey. And 5 years later, I was the best man at their wedding. Called it. Brayden owes his marriage to me. As such, I will be naming the firstborn child.
No.
The baby's name will be Bryson 2. The sequel.
Not happening.
It's happening, guys. Here's another family love story. Brody brought home a girl named Jen to meet the family, so we decided to all play a board game together. It was a secret role game. We will call it Secret Bad Guy. Anyway, in the board game, the good guys are trying to figure out who the bad guys are and stop them to win. We got our secret roles, and I was the bad guy. I had to keep my identity secret and convince everyone that I was a good guy. The game went on, and it got to the point where if I was elected as chancellor, me and the bad guys would win. I had been purposefully playing in a way that had Brayden totally convinced that I was innocent. Mom was skeptical, but Brayden advocated for me and elected me as chancellor because I had earned his trust. The vote passed.
If Bryson is the bad guy, then we lose. Bryson, you're not the bad guy, right?
Brayden was so angry that I had deceived him that he literally grabbed me, threw me on the table, and strangled me as I laughed. All while Jen watched in horror. What a great introduction to the family. Somehow she ignored that red flag and married Brody anyway. The warnings were there. She signed up for this, so that's on her. And I'm not married. Speaking of board games, I only remember playing Monopoly once. All I remember is someone getting angry, grabbing the metal airplane piece, and throwing it like a ninja star out of anger. It missed and stuck into the wall. Good thing too, it could have stabbed someone's eye out. I don't remember who threw it, but I know in my heart that it was Braden. Anyway, as me and Braden grew, we became best friends. Siblings are crazy like that. You spend your whole life fighting each other, and then one day you're both like, he was my best friend all along. Braden has blossomed into a great man, and I love him like a brother. Wait.
Hi, welcome to Bryson's cooking show. Today we are cooking cereal. First add cereal, then— But Bryson, what if I like pouring the milk first? As I was saying, first add cereal, then milk, and voila, we've got cereal. What? Wait, no.
The gates of hell open wide to receive thy soul. Now submit thyself to unending torment.
No, please, I'm a good boy. Oh no. Bo, please save me. Hi, I'm Bryson, and I once started a grease fire in my house. And believe it or not, this is not the first fire that the Haminations family has endured. Let me start at the beginning. Now, almost all these stories revolve around one sibling, the pyromaniac of the family, my oldest brother, Brody. Now, before I decimate my brother's reputation, slander his name permanently, and ensure that he's never allowed within 500 feet of a lighter ever again, let me just preface with this. I love you, Brody. Our journey begins when Brody was 3 years old. I remember it like it was yesterday. Except I wasn't even born yet. My family was visiting our grandparents and uncles, and my Uncle Mark decided to have some bonding time with Brody. It remains a mystery to this day what Uncle Mark was thinking, but he decided to teach Brody how to use a lighter and how to lock doors. Two essential skills for any 3-year-old, obviously. In one fell swoop, this knowledge transformed Brody from a harmless toddler to a dangerous fire hazard capable of burning the house down. Brody put his knowledge to use immediately. He locked himself in Grandma's room, hid under the bed, and started melting the wax under there. The bottom of the bed began to burn, and the wax started melting down onto the carpet. The family smelled the smoke and ran around the house looking for Brody.
Oh my God! Okay, it's happening! Everybody stay calm!
What's the procedure, everyone? What's the procedure?
Stay calm!
But the door was locked. When they finally got in, they saw Brody with a lighter in hand, standing next to a burning bed. They put the fire out quickly as Brody watched. Even though I wasn't there, I can imagine Brody grinning to himself, because born inside him at that moment was a flame that would never go out. This was the beginning of a lifetime of pyromania. My parents were rightfully mad at Uncle Mark, and years later they got back at him. Uncle Mark's son was very young, and my parents were visiting. Hey, little guy, come here. I'm gonna teach you how to use a lighter.
No! No! No!
Skip it up and down.
Does your family have a pyromaniac, or are you normal?
My main goal is to blow up.
The next incident happened 1 year later. Brody was 4, and I remember it like it was yesterday. Except I was still not born yet. Mom was outside the house talking to a friend, and Brody was inside unattended. He decided that he wanted a hot dog. He had seen our parents use the microwave before and thought, oh, I just need to put it in the microwave, hit a couple buttons, and hit start. So that's exactly what he did. But he unknowingly set it to over an hour. A while later, Mom's friend noticed smoke coming out of the windows in the house. Mom ran inside in a panic and found Brody with his hot dog. I tried to make a hot dog, but all I got was a piece of poop. The hot dog was reduced to a flaming carbon crisp, burnt to the very core. And that's how my family house almost got burnt down by a hot dog. Then the next year, when Brody was 5, he got glasses. This time I remember it clearly. Except I still hadn't been born yet. Once again, he was left unattended in the kitchen. Brody found a lighter, sat on the counter, and began lighting it over and over. You know, for entertainment. Then he thought, I wonder if my glasses are fireproof. He slowly began to raise the lighter closer and closer to his face, and the lens cracked. Mom? What? What was that noise? Did you break your glasses? Yes. And that's just the tip of the iceberg, or fireberg. Brody, in his teenage and adult life, has regularly set paper towels on fire on the counter, started fires outside for no reason, and put tinfoil in the microwave. I'm not even joking. Hey, Brody, what are you cooking? And when Brody was 6, he had to be held on a leash whenever he would go out. Yeah, he was one of those kids. However, even the leash could not contain his chaotic nature because somehow, in one day, Brody set off a car alarm, an elevator alarm, and an airport alarm. If you haven't figured it out yet, let me just spell it out for you. Brody was a menace to society. He's still a menace, but his wife keeps him in check. Most of the time. Now, all these stories were about Brody, but this isn't Brody's channel. Now it's time to talk about how I started a fire. But at least it was an accident, unlike Brody, who set stuff on fire on purpose. Also, all Brody's stories happened when I was just an unborn soul vibing in the quantum abyss. I kinda miss it. Anyway, on to my grease fire story. At this point, I had finally been born, and I was about to start a family recipe with my roommate Dallin. The chicken was defrosting and it was almost ready, so I put some oil in a pot and set the stove on low to heat up and be ready for the chicken. At least I thought I did, but I accidentally put the heat on maximum overdrive. Then I got distracted talking to Dallin and forgot all about the chicken.
Yes.
After a while, the room suddenly started filling with smoke. I wonder what that could be. We looked and saw a plume of smoke coming from the pot. As I ran over to try and fix my horrible mistake, the smoke caught fire and blazed forth an eerie orange glow. I saw into hell in that moment, and the face of Satan stared back at me. Then, for an excruciating couple seconds, I sat there frozen, wondering what to do. Have you heard the term fight or flight? Well, there's actually a third option, freeze. And my brain chose freeze. Dallin saw that I was paralyzed and quickly jumped into action. He grabbed a bowl and carefully covered the pot and extinguished the flame. I was so embarrassed that my big, strong roommate had to save me. I very gingerly helped get rid of the smoke by opening the windows. I cooled and cleaned the pot and very carefully finished the recipe.
So good and tasty?
I also apologized profusely to Dallin, who insisted that it wasn't a big deal. I honestly can't properly explain how embarrassed and ashamed I was. I was just trying to be an adult and make a meal, and I almost burned my house down. But I learned a valuable lesson. The lesson is, have a roommate who's not afraid of fire. I will be more careful in the future, and hopefully next time I won't freeze. To end things off, I want to encourage you all to be careful and cautious when cooking, because you could literally die. Also, stay away from Brody or he will burn down your house. Fortunately, fire won't be an issue for me, because since my fire incident, I have mastered waterbending. And I've mastered firebending. Don't do this, Brody. Don't challenge me. It won't end well. I'm sparing you, brother. I'm letting you go in the name of our past friendship. But I warn you, even a single step out of line will result in your permanent end. Whatever, this game sucks anyway. You're just mad 'cause you lost. Maybe, but at least my house isn't on fire.
Hey, Bryson, lay down on the ground.
Why?
Just do it.
Okay. I'm gonna pee. Hi, I'm Bryson, and I've made several videos about my siblings, but there's one that I've yet to tell you about. The oldest sibling, my only sister, Brittany. By the way, that intro skit was a true story. She actually did that to me. But to be honest, looking at the whole picture, Brittany was the sibling that was nicest to me growing up. I mean, she's 10 years older than me, so it kind of makes sense. Why would a 15-year-old have beef with a 5-year-old? She even gave me a nickname when I was born.
Precious.
I would tell you what nicknames my brothers call me, but I don't want to get demonetized. She was the nicest to me as a kid, but that's probably just because the bar was set so low by Brody and Braden. She was the only one who wasn't massively disappointed when I was born. Seriously, my brothers wanted another sister, and my parents wanted it to be a surprise. When Brody and Braden came in to meet me and learned I was a boy, they were crushed. You think I'm joking, but I have proof. Look.
Oh my goodness.
Come here, what do we have?
Brayden, Brody. Hi.
Doesn't you want to say hi to us?
She's sleeping. Guess what kind of baby it is? It's a boy baby. It's
a boy, just like you guys.
Surprised?
I
I know. He's just like you.
He's just like you. He's a boy.
You've got a brother. You want us to try for a sister?
Oh, buddy.
This isn't a sister. Your sister's right there.
I was a disappointment from day one! Did you see how destroyed Brody was? And Braden went to say hi to Brittany instead of me. Like, excuse me, I just barely entered the earth from heaven. I was expecting a warmer welcome than this. Look at my mom's baby announcement she sent out. It's another boy. What did I do to deserve this? I'm so sorry that I inconvenienced you all so much by being born. Anyway, let's start off with a classic family story. I had just been given a new big boy bike, a significant upgrade from my little fixed gear baby bike. I took it to the top of the hill by our house and rode down. It was so fast and exhilarating. I turned into our driveway toward our parking bay and tried braking by pedaling backwards, cause that's how my little bike worked. But this was a big boy bike. Pedaling backwards did nothing. It was too late. Brittany's first reaction to other people getting hurt is to laugh hysterically and try not to pee. I think it's because she's been desensitized to pain from watching all those true crime documentaries.
Her arms were cut off. Her legs were cut off. Her ears were cut off. Her tongue was cut off. Her nose was cut off. Her eyeballs were plucked out.
But regardless of her obsession with murder, she was very sweet to little old me, and I'll always remember her taking me to Chuck E. Cheese and playing Deal or No Deal together. I still remember our winning strategy.
That's the bank. No deal. That's the bank. No deal. Now, let's open your case. You win!
Although she wasn't always so nice to me. One time when I was very young, we were moving into a new house, and little me wanted to wear a paint lid as a hat. When the paint lid would fall, I would cry. Brittany kept coming back to put it back on my head to comfort me, but it kept falling off and I kept crying. So obviously, she glued the paint lid to my head. Mom had to shave my head in order to get the lid off. My hair was ruined!
This is my bread and butter. I can't have you messing up my bread and butter, dude.
Anyway, eventually Brittany started dating and she brings this guy home. I was maybe 7 and we were chilling on the beanbag and playing phone games when all of a sudden the guy says,
"It's like really awkward that your little brother is here."
Like, excuse me, this is my house. It's really awkward that you're here, chump.
Oh, I want an empty room so that we can get to the kissing part of the night, even though it's our first date.
That's mighty presumptuous of you, forehead. Brittany, this guy's no good for you. Kick him to the curb. I didn't really say that, but I thunk it. Anyway, she dumped him. Then her next boyfriend was Kyle. One time he was babysitting me and I made him watch Danny Phantom with me all day. I also remember showing up at his house one time, inviting myself in and playing a skateboarding game with him. Then he gave me a toy car and that was enough for him to get my blessing to marry Brittany. Anyway, they're married now, just like all my other older siblings. Flash forward, I was in high school and Brittany and Kyle were living in Mom's basement. One night we heard Brittany and Kyle yelling downstairs and I got a half-hour lecture from my parents about how hard marriage is. I mentioned it to them the following day and they said, "Oh, we were just watching a hockey game and we were excited." And I was like, well then I got a big lecture about nothing. During this time, Brittany had to stop by a car shop with me in the car. She asked if I could run in and grab some stuff for her car.
Hey, Bryson, I need you to go in the store and ask for blinker fluid. I'm out.
Okay. Do you guys have blinker fluid?
What fluid?
Blinker fluid.
Someone's pulling your leg, young man. Blinker fluid isn't a thing.
What? Let me go ask my sister. I'm gonna pee! She pranked me! But then I pranked her back by making a video about it and monetizing it. So, who really won? Now, while living together, Mom and Brittany had a few arguments. I don't even remember what the arguments were about, but eventually, after an argument escalated for a while, it would get to the point where they would stop trying to resolve it and instead just try to deal as much emotional damage as possible. And this was my favorite one. I was chilling in Mom's room. Brittany came in and they started rehashing an argument from earlier that day. It escalated and they yelled for a while, then Brittany stormed off. And as she did, Mom said,
"Did I ruffle a feather?"
You don't say that disrespectful to any of your other kids, and I won't stand for it! Ugh!
So that was fun. Don't worry, Mom and Brittany are all good now. But in retrospect, I would say yes, Mom did indeed ruffle a feather. Now it's time to talk about Brittany's kids. My nephews, Hank, Brock, and Jack. I love my nephews. They're huge improvements from the source material. Anyways, I take being the favorite uncle very seriously. Piggyback rides, puzzles, and stuffed animals galore. I also teach them valuable life lessons. What do we do when someone is mean to us? That's right! Violence! Can you say violence?
Violence!
Good! Be resourceful about it too. Throw rocks, bite people, push them down the stairs, all that good stuff.
Okay.
But for real, I do try to influence them positively in whatever way I can. Bad.
Bad.
Good.
Good. Uncle Bryson, are we getting paid for this?
No!
I'm a voice actor, and voice actors get paid.
No! No money for you!
You know what? I'm calling my agent.
Yeah, right, like you have an agent.
Dad!
What's wrong, buddy?
He's not paying me.
That's a lie. He's lying.
He won't pay me!
Here's a funny story for each of the boys. One time, I tied a laundry basket behind this little go-kart thing we had, and I put Hank in it, and I would drive him around the kitchen floor. It was a huge hit. He loved it. I would also do the occasional power slide, but one time I slid too hard, and... So that was fun to explain to Brittany. Another time, Brittany was outside her house talking to a friend. Brock kept coming out, tugging on her arm and asking for her attention, but Brittany kept telling him to wait inside and that she would talk to him when she was done. Now, Brock is usually sweet, but this brought out the sourness in him. That's why we call him Sour Patch Kid.
You ruled the day. You neglected me, Mother.
Brittany finished talking and went to go inside, but the door was locked. Brittany told Brock to unlock it, but he just stared at her, challenging her authority. Finally, Brittany climbed through the window and yelled, "Oh, you'd better better run. But Brock just stood his ground and stared at her defiantly as she approached, as if to say, I do not fear you, mother. I'll spare you what happened next. Jack is just the cutest little sweet pea ever. But when visiting, I would often be holding him and... But what really stuck with me was when I found him trying to eat a baby wipe. I tried to take it from him, but he stared at his hand and then at me, holding tight to the wipe. I struggled against his grip as he stared.
Do you feel in charge?
Finally, I used both hands to pry his hand open. Why did a baby have me questioning my strength? I love visiting and having fun with the boys. They also watch my videos, and Hank has some of them memorized. He can quote them better than I can. Hey boys, who's your favorite uncle?
Bryson. The other uncles are cringe.
Haha, yes, I'm the best guy ever.
You know what? Don't flatter yourself, pal. I'm sick of you fishing for compliments all the time. Stop using me as a prop in your narcissistic online circus. Your whole channel is just a pathetic, thirsty attempt to fill that gaping hole in your heart. But guess what? No amount of praise can fix your massive amount of insecurity. External validation won't fix you. Have some self-awareness and go to therapy or something, you worthless little psycho.
Hank's right. Why did an adult need compliments from small children? You're cringe, buddy.
What? To end this video off, I thought me and Brittany could reminisce together about some of our other favorite memories together. Please enjoy.
Bryson and I had very different moms growing up. I had the mom who was on me. If I wanted to go anywhere, it was, who are you going with? What time are you going to be back? If you're not back by this time, then this. And now, my brothers just can do whatever they want. My mom's tired. She told me she is just tired and done parenting.
Well, I never wanted to leave. I just stayed home all the time.
Yeah. I've only stolen one thing in my life, and I was about 4 or 5 years old, and we went to a fabric store, and there was a pumpkin with gum in it. My mom told me I couldn't have it. We got back in the car, and she looked at me in the rearview mirror with her piercing eyes as I was chewing bubble gum. She looked at me and said, Brittany, what are you chewing? And I said, gum. And she goes, where'd you get it? And I said, the store we were just at. She turned that car around so quickly, marched me back into the store, proceeded to make me tell the cashier that I had stolen the bubblegum. Then we left and drove next door to the police station, where she got an officer, pulled me out of the car, and asked them, what happens if you steal? And the police officer said, you go to jail. And my mom turned around and looked at me and pointed and said, she just stole a pack of gum from the fabric store. And I thought I was going to jail. Needless to say, that's the first and the last time that I stole anything.
What if the officer just arrested you on the spot? It's like, she's going to juvie, and mom's like, wait, my lesson isn't working the way I thought.
She's 5 years old. So I actually did end up in jail. I was a nurse in a jail. One time I came home from a long 16-hour shift at the jail, and I'd walk in and see Bryson sitting in the same pajamas that he's been in all day, slurping down a bowl of cereal. I'd look at him with disgust and ask, how much money did you make today? Let's just say he made a lot more than I did.
She's not salty or anything. Well, that was fun. In conclusion, Brittany is my favorite sister. Wait.